Welcome back. We're now hearing Trump warning the banks that Bitcoin and crypto will replace the current financial system, guesstimating that they will see extinction within 10 years. We're going to be discussing this among many other topics and kind of bringing us to the conclusion that crypto is here to stay. I'm going to be showing you guys a few different videos that I think are important to understand where we are in the cycle, where we are going in the cycle, and kind of what the sentiment is. We're going to be hearing from many different people throughout the crypto space, and we're also going to be kind of exploring what's happening in the banking sector, because if this is true, that tells me that the banks are going to get involved in crypto, which they already are. We just covered on this channel the other day that Fidelity just opened the first financial institution custodied crypto IRA, so you can hold, in your retirement account, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum at this current moment with Fidelity. Those are the coins that they offer on the exchange within a tax-advantaged 401k or IRA. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I would definitely recommend watching it recently on this channel. And don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. We upload almost every single day of the year. Now, before we get into this crypto news, I thought it would be important and fun to kind of see what is going on with the Jim Cramer inverse Cramer tracker. Now, you guys know, historically, Jim Cramer he has been fascinatingly wrong so much of the time. We're literally at the top of the market. He's basically a hype guy for the stock market, right? This is not an investment way to invest in any asset, let alone some of the most volatile stocks in the market. Well, now we're seeing that Snapchat, the company is public and it's trading for about just under $8 right now. And meanwhile, if we go back a little bit to when Snapchat was much higher, you will hear, and again, this was at about $59. So if we pull back the price chart, you can see that $59 was effectively the all-time record high for this stock in 2021, right? The hype of the entire market. And so this should give us a little bit of a lesson that although people think when the market pumps maybe 40, 50, 60%, that we're in a bull run, that we're in the euphoric top of the market, but it's important to remember that things were way more crazy back in 2021 in terms of sentiment, in terms of people overvaluing already overvalued companies like Snapchat. Let's listen to what he says here back in 2021.
Reports this week. People are looking for 84% revenue growth. That's July 22nd. And the stock is at 59. David, you should buy that.
It's a $94 billion market value.
That's a buy, right? $59, that's a buy. Well, if we look at the price from $59, right about here, we'll just say $63 or $53, to now it's an 85% reduction or 85% drop. So this kind of goes to show you, number one, nobody can do the research for you. You have to do the research yourself in these markets. And the other thing is, don't listen to somebody on YouTube or TV and just invest blindly without understanding the long-term kind of movements and cycles of these markets. But that brings us to crypto, because on a much larger cycle, the banks are now in an existential crisis. According to Eric Trump, if banks don't watch what's coming, they'll be extinct in 10 years. Now, I do have the video for this, but he has a warning for the banks saying that they need to change the way that they operate or they are going to go extinct. He said the modern financial system is broken, it's slow, and it's expensive. He said this at a Dubai conference. And this is part of the conversation that he had with, it looks like, one of the news organizations, CNBC here. Now, I'm going to play this on 1.25 speed, but I think that it's, this is kind of what we've been talking about, right? The banks are now getting involved in crypto. They have been getting involved in crypto. They have been researching and learning about crypto, right? JP Morgan, meanwhile, they have their own JPM crypto coin. They have their own blockchain. And we have the CEO going out and telling people on a regular basis that crypto is fraud, crypto is manipulative, there's no value to crypto. Meanwhile, if you look at the banks, there's actually no value to the banks because they don't have the money that you put in the bank, right? They don't have any money. All they do is issue debt. But people still think that the banks are the same way that they used to be, and they are not, and they have changed pretty drastically. And I think that part of the reason that we're also seeing the president's administration really going pro crypto and kind of telling the banks that they need to get on their A game is because of all of the debanking that we've seen going on. And that is a problem as well, right? You can't say like, oh, we're not going to bank you. We're not going to bank you. Not going to bank you, because then people start moving away. It's the same thing like sanctioning other countries that they can't use the dollar. Okay, what they're just going to stop existing? No, they're going to go to another currency, and this takes value away from the dollar and removes some of the power of the dollar from being the world reserve currency. So that's a self-inflicted wound. And the banks are doing the same thing. They're creating these self-inflicted wounds on their own business line, instead of, making a free and fair and equitable market, right? A free open market. Anyway, let's listen to what Eric Trump said about the whole crypto world. Let's listen in. And don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up.
The two, and the willingness to again say yes, back to the first part of our interview, the willingness to actually look forward and realize that the modern financial system is broken, it's slow, it's expensive, and there's nothing that can be done on blockchain that can't be done better than the way that the current financial institutions are working. SWIFT is an absolute disaster. There's not a week that goes by that I'm either trying to send out a wire on a Friday afternoon or trying to receive a wire on a Friday afternoon. You're worried if you're going to hit that 4 o'clock cutoff time, where you might not see your, whatever funds you're supposed to be receiving in the ordinary course of business, for another 72 hours or whatever it might be. It's insane. Why do banks work 9 to 5, with a long lunch break, Monday through Friday? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's, you could go try and get a mortgage in the United States or really anywhere else around the world, but you and whoever your spouse is, you could sit there for 90 days, 120 days going through and know your customer with a bank that's literally been your banker for the last 25 years, and it takes you 120 days to get a mortgage to buy a house. By the time you get the mortgage, the house that you want to buy is already gone, and your dream's already imploded. Like, this isn't modern finance. This is incompetence.
And again, this is a lot of what we're seeing with the Doge team as well, kind of going in and looking at where the waste, the abuse, the slowness, because at the end of the day, that holds everybody back. I mean, if you just think about the last 4 years, the suppression that they created about the crypto space and all of the FUD, right? Granted, there was a downturn in the market, but this is how markets work. Instead of telling the population, yes, the markets are coming down, we were a little bit over leveraged, overextended, this is how markets operate. They just, try to clamp down and eliminate crypto. And meanwhile, while they were eliminating crypto, the banks were doubling down on think about it. Think about it, guys. The banks, right? They have unlimited money and unlimited resources. And over the last 5 to 10 years, while they have been fighting Bitcoin, they have made their business operations worse, right? Maybe for them it's better because the banks are making tens of billions of dollars in profit every single year. We've talked about this before, like JP Morgan, the largest bank in the US, they make about $40 billion a year for the last 10 years, every single year in profit. And where does most of that profit come from? 30% credit card fees, overdraft fees, late fees, right? Extracting from poor people. But they'll say, oh no, Bitcoin is really bad. Bitcoin is you're going to lose all your money in it. But don't worry about the banks. We're here to help you out. You need money? Don't worry, we're going to give you money, right? With 30% interest. It is absolutely backwards. And they could have fixed this issue within the SWIFT system, within the banking system by now, but they still haven't done it. You still can't bank on the weekends. You still can't transfer money on the weekends. You still have to kind of go within the 9 to 5. There's still so many kind of blocks that stop the money from moving, and then you have to go and kind of read. It's just so cumbersome. And instead of making things easier, they're like, no, well, the reason we have this is because we need to do this. So the reason we have this is because we have these controls in place to protect you from your own money and spending your own money. And it's like, what? Like, how have they not fixed this yet? How have they not made transfers instant, right? They could have done it. They chose not to. And where is all of this tens of billions of dollars in profit? It's not going back into research and development on how to make the financial system better or make your life better. It's just going back to the shareholders. And so what we're seeing here is this transition to this digital world. And this obviously is going to bring value. This is going to bring price increases, right? But understanding the underlying, understanding the key thesis around this whole crypto world, this should be able to kind of give you a little bit of insight into where we are going. Like, what is more likely? Is it more likely that banks are going to continue to lose market share as the new digital world, which the younger generation feel more comfortable with and see more equitable and fair than the traditional financial system, and that the banks are going to continue to get worse, or that magically tomorrow the banks are going to turn around and say, you know what, we've been doing things wrong for a long time and we've been extracting as much money as we can from you and we're not holding your money. All we do is issue debt. We're going to change that. We're going to make it more equitable and we're going to come in line with this open world of decentralized finance. What do you think more likely is going to happen? They're going to do that. They're going to be pro crypto, pro decentralized finance, and make their customers' lives easier, or they're going to continue to extract as much money as they possibly can out of the poorest people and make it seem like they're the best thing, right? I mean, there's a reason, guys, that most like wealthy individuals don't have their money in banks, right? They may have a portion of their money in a bank as in safe haven assets, kind of the steady Eddie type of investment. But a lot of these rich individuals, they're putting their money in hard investments like crypto, like gold, like stocks in these large, big companies. Let's continue listening to what Eric Trump says.
Try and transfer money across the world. You want to go buy a watch. You want to go buy a car. You want to go, do whatever it is. The banks take half of that. You have currency conversion rates. You have all sorts of things. You have to find a branch bank in a country with a person, a banker you've never spoken to before. You don't even know if they're, a real life banker or they're a fraudster. Whereas you can open up a DeFi app right now. You can open up, any cryptocurrency app, and you can send money wallet to wallet instantaneously without the expense, without the variability. Our banking system is broken. Our banking system is antiquated. Our banking system favors the ultra wealthy. And what actually got me into it is the fact that I realized our banking system, it was weaponized against the vast majority of people in our country, either the people that don't have the zeros on their balance sheet or people who might have worn that red hat that said, make America great again. And it forced me into the crypto world. And I'm telling you, if the banks don't watch what's coming, they're going to be extinct in 10 years.
So there you hear it, guys. And I would agree. I would agree. And the banks know this, guys. The banks know this. They want to get into crypto, but they've been wanting to do it in a way that they control everything. And whether they are going to be able to do that or not, I don't know. But we're going to have to wait and see. And so, yes, this is what the Trump team says. And, if we kind of zoom out and look at what's really happening around the country, around the world in terms of crypto, things are happening very quick. And this could lead us to the final phase of this bull run, which I believe that we are in. I know a lot of people don't believe this. A lot of people don't want to believe this. The people are like, no, Cryptoviser, we're going to be going forever because, Trump is pro-crypto. That's not how market cycles work. Market cycles work in cycles, right? Like a roller coaster. You go up, you go down, you go up, you go down, you go sideways. But the long trajectory is the exhilarating ride that you're on, and that is what we are all on together. Crypto is going much, much, much higher. And based on this is another kind of example of what is happening here. Trump's crypto Sherpa, Bo Hines, says that the crypto legislation is on target for a quick completion, saying that new laws could be set by August, and Trump's own crypto interests are not a factor. And so understanding a little bit more about this, Bo Hines, who is hired as the executive director of the Presidential Council of Advisors for Digital Assets, told CoinDesk in an interview that procedures are being ironed out to move legislation on regulating stablecoin issuers, and the crypto advocates in the White House and Congress will quickly pivot to the bigger bill that set a full regulatory regime for crypto markets. He says the progress so far puts the efforts well on pace to achieve what the president desires. Now, he believes that this could be passed as early as summer recess in August. That's before Congress goes on a little vacation. But here's the deal, guys. I don't care what they say. You guys know this cycle, it's all about what is happening, what is being done, not what these crypto projects are planning, what they're working on. They're going to release this, they're going to release this. And the same thing goes for legislation. They could tell us every day, tomorrow they're going to pass legislation. Next week, they're going to pass legislation. Next year, they're going to pass legislation. But guess what? They've been saying this for years, literally years at this point, and we still have nothing. So I would not count the chickens before they hatch, per se, but this doesn't mean that the rest of the market won't, and that the speculation in the markets won't base some of the action on these potential dates, right? It does kind of make sense. If this is the final stage of the bull market, the last 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving, which we're in, the Bitcoin halving was 1 year ago from when I'm recording this video. So we're a year later, right? 12 to 18 months is the most volatile times historically in the crypto markets after the halving. And so we're in that time frame. And so if my thesis is correct about this time period of 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving being the most volatile and the top, that means that we're going to hit the top sometime in the next 6 months or around there. And so this could be a catalyst that gets us there. Like, think about it. If Congress passes a law to make crypto or stable coins integrated with the banking system and legal and all of this, there's a very large possibility that we are going to see the speculative move in the market go much, much, much higher very, very rapidly. The other thing to keep in mind is that from what I just read, and we're going to be doing some future stories on this, is that apparently Ripple offered to buy Circle for about $6 billion. Now, apparently Ripple rejected that, Circle rejected that offer. Yeah, you can see this right here from CoinDesk. We'll kind of read it. It says Ripple offered $4 to $5 billion for stablecoin issuer Circle, but apparently the offer was rejected. This is interesting because remember, Ripple has been trying to create their own stablecoin called RLUSD, which apparently is already approved by the New York State Bit license. And so that would indicate that they probably already had some work being done. But why would they try to go buy Circle? That's a good question. Well, I know a lot of you are going to say, Cryptoviser, what is your opinion on this? Why do you think that they tried to buy Circle? Well, either one, they realized that just buying Circle would accelerate Ripple forward very, very rapidly, or they realized that with the legislation coming out, it's going to be very difficult to not only build their own stable coin, but get it to the level of USDC or Tether. Because as I've explained, and by the way, this is also an indicator of the top of the market, and let me explain why. Because I'm not saying we're at the top. I'm saying that we're close to the top. These kind of signs are that we are close to the top of the market. Because to me, everybody is speculating on what Ripple is going to do. Oh, XRP is going to go much higher because now Ripple got their lawsuit dropped, or it's the end of the lawsuit, or whatever the situation is. Meanwhile, that's not what we've seen happening in the price. We've also seen the price stagnating for quite a while. We've also heard that Ripple is going to sell their coins on the open market, and they're going to continue to do this. And so everybody's speculating on, oh, they're going to get their own stable coin. Oh, they're going to get an ETF. Oh, XRP this, XRP that. And meanwhile, in my view, the way that I'm looking at it from a financial analysis, there is no possible way that we're going to see, number one, XRP have their own stable coin because they're trying to buy Circle, which means that they think that that's the easier route than creating their own. And by the way, that also indicates that every other ecosystem that is not tapped into Tether or Circle is already losing, and that if they're trying to create their own stable coin and make it as big as Circle, they're going to lose, right? Circle is way ahead. And then if this legislation comes out, it's going to make it even more difficult because it's going to give preferential treatment, at least at the beginning, based on what the legislation is, to Circle and Tether. Why? Because Circle and Tether have the framework and have the resources and have the time, in existence to be able to apply whatever these new laws or legislation is before the legislation even gets approved and passed. And so this is a speculative frenzy going on with XRP that I think is going to end not too happy for XRP holders in the shorter term based on what we're talking about here. But yeah, I mean, we are expecting some type of stablecoin legislation this year in 2025. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe it will. Who knows? Who really cares? Just the speculation on this all happening is enough, I think, to push the prices much, much higher into some kind of euphoric top of the market. Anyway, Jeff Booth is now saying that if the Federal Reserve does not print soon, you'll see capitulation and things will collapse. Now, there's a lot of analysts, including myself, that are watching this close because there is the possibility that the Federal Reserve is not going to cut rates until something breaks. And although we've seen things break already in the financial markets, I'm talking about even worse, like 2020 type collapse. Remember, the Federal Reserve did emergency rate cuts 2 weeks before the economy was shut down back in 2020. Let's listen to what Jeff Booth says here. And by the way, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. Try to break everything down for you guys in the most easiest to consume kind of situation here. Hopefully it is. Anyway, let's listen to Jeff Booth.
It is the only non-counterparty risk asset. Everything else has counterparty risk to the debt and all of the things and decisions that other people make. So if the Fed doesn't print really soon, you're going to see a capitulation. Things are going to collapse in that 900 trillion. Houses are going to fall. Stocks are going to fall. It's going to keep falling faster and faster. Banks are going to fail. And you will vote for massive more printing. And then you'll say, how dare they? You will do all of the actions inside this. You watch free market people, free market economists, pundits, and everything else. Why won't the Fed print? Like, it's so ludicrous. Everything you do in your world, in your life, if you're not in Bitcoin and self-custody, it has counterparty risk to that. And the way I think about Bitcoin, and I know where we're going here, but why I say open, decentralized, secure protocol bounded by energy, those 5 interconnected pieces matter a lot. So protocols are winner take all, not winner take most. Technologies are winner take most. Protocols are winner take all, and protocols come in layers. The only recent example of a protocol is the internet.
And so he's saying the protocols win, right? And the Federal Reserve will print soon. And at the end of the day, if the Federal Reserve doesn't print, people will go to Bitcoin as a hedge against the collapse. And even if the Fed does print, people will go into Bitcoin as a hedge against the inflationary aspect of printing money. And so either way, Bitcoin wins. The banks may not win, especially if banks fail. Banks have to, well, that could be good for the bigger banks. So you have to also think about a big or small bank, because if a small bank fails, the big banks like JP Morgan, they love that, because then they can go and buy up that small bank and they can get more market share just by being the largest and being able to purchase whatever they want. And that centralizes the traditional financial world even more than it already is when these collapses occur. And so, again, people are moving to Bitcoin. The big money is moving to Bitcoin around the world. Guys, keep in mind, this is not in the U.S. A lot of people in the U.S. watch my videos, and we get in this bubble like the U.S. is the world. We're 3% of the world's population, right? People are like, tell me all the time, oh, Elon Musk is the richest person. Bill Gates is the richest person. I'm like, no. You guys have never been to Dubai. These people are way richer. They may not be public figures, but they're way wealthier. They have so much money. I don't even think they know what to do with it if they had 15 different lives. Like, there is so much money there. And so when we kind of step outside the bubble, what are these people putting their money in? Are they putting it in their dollar? Are they putting it in treasuries? No, they're not. Other countries are dumping treasuries at very rapid paces. They're going into safe haven assets that are not centrally controlled, that are not going to be politically controlled either. And that's Bitcoin. And that brings us to Howard Lutnick. This is the Commerce Secretary. And anybody who would ask me, like Cryptoviser, like, what is your thesis on crypto in these 4 years of the presidential administration? Because at the end of the day, a lot can happen in these 3 years. And I just tell them, go listen to Howard Lutnick, right? You may not agree with what he says or how he does things or his way of thinking or how he is as a businessman. But at the end of the day, none of that matters. When he is the Commerce Secretary, he is a big influence on where crypto is going, on what the future of crypto is, and specifically Bitcoin. And when you hear what he says about it, I don't know how anybody could say, oh no, this is bearish. I'm not going to buy Bitcoin because of this. Like, those people are going to lose. Imagine being wrong 100% of the time and seeing data like this, where the Commerce Secretary, who is also like one of the only companies, Cantor Fitzgerald, his hedge fund, that would actually work with Tether, and now Tether's starting to get a U.S. presence. And you're bearish on crypto and Bitcoin, at least in the next 3 years? Like, hello, like, pay attention. Let's listen to what he says here.
You've never seen the United States of America embrace something and then they're turn their back on it later. That's never happened.
Yeah.
So now you've turned that page, you're in the positive world of America. And I think what's going to happen is Bitcoin will become more and more part of the just ordinary talking. People can hold it as assets. They'll trade it like a stock. There's no difference from it, maybe, but it's not really a stock. It's more a commodity. I believe the way you talk about it is, what is Bitcoin like? It's like gold. To me, it's a commodity. Why? There's only so much of it, and it's like gold. Now, gold trades anywhere. No one stops me from buying this ring when I went to buy the ring of gold, right? So gold trades everywhere. If you want to be an exchange, you can be an exchange. But if you want to buy and sell gold, you can buy and sell gold.
Right.
So I think you should be able to buy and sell Bitcoin. It's a commodity. It should be treated like a commodity. It should be treated like oil. It should be treated like gold. It's intellectually correct. I know people have all sorts of things to say about it, but in the end, it's not a currency, it's a commodity. And once you embrace the concept of a commodity, you'll see how beautiful that is and how that fits into almost every thoughtful box, right? No one stops someone from selling oil from one person to another. No one should stop someone from selling Bitcoin from one person to another, using Bitcoin, however they want to do it. You want to put it on an exchange? Fine, call it a commodity exchange. But let's understand that Bitcoin, if it's treated like a commodity, is the freedom that we all, who are watching this podcast, we all look for. You've never...
I mean, guys, we did not see this over the last 4 years, right? I mean, this should be the clue of where crypto's going. May not be right now, right? We may not achieve $1 million Bitcoin or you becoming a multimillionaire today. But over the course of time, understanding the big picture is that big money is moving into this new asset class. There's infrastructure being built for this new asset class. And the people who are not seeing this, right? Because there's a lot of people in the world that will never see this, right? They don't have access to the information. They don't have time to consume the information. Meanwhile, people in the US who do have the information, who do have the time for this information and have the resources to acquire this kind of digital gold thesis, very early stages still to begin with. I mean, these people are going to do fine, and this is where we talk about retirements and really focusing on what is important. You know, securing our retirement, protecting our futures. A lot of people are not doing this. I mean, even small amounts. People are like, nah, I'm not going to put $10 in, and it's like that $10 could be, you know, a determining factor in your future because maybe that $10 will turn into $10 weekly, a dollar cost average. Maybe that $10 will turn into $100 weekly of investing, right? You have to start somewhere. When I first started learning about investing and when I first bought crypto, you know, the person who was basically helping me learn about all of this basically said, like, buy some, right? Even if it's $10, just buy some because this will get you into the, you know, crypto world, see that you actually can buy it, see that, you know, it could grow, it could go down, it could stay sideways, but it will get, you know, your feet wet effectively. And then you can, you know, start looking at the other coins and start figuring out if you want to make this part of your investment thesis, but starting out small. And I think that we're going to see more and more people do this. And these kind of messages from people in the administration it's pretty big, guys. I think this is one of the biggest things. And I don't think that the market has priced this stuff in yet. I don't think that the market has priced in these comments and this very bullish sentiment. Because right now the market is focused on MicroStrategy and Cantor Equity Partners. This is that company that's going to be turning into the new MicroStrategy called 21. And this stock, I mean, is way overvalued pre-merge. When the merge happens, this company is going to get 2.7% of the new shares of the company 21 that Jack Mallers is creating, which puts the current equity price around $10 to $15. So we're basically 3 times that. And so there's a lot of speculation. But Howard Lutnick says, is it really blockchain I should be thinking about, or should I be thinking about Bitcoin? Remember, in the previous administration, it was like, no. Blockchain is real, but crypto is not. We're not really sure about crypto. It's like, what are you not sure about, right? What are you not sure about? And so Howard Lutnick is talking about changing that conversation once again, going back to, yes, no, this is about Bitcoin. It's not just about blockchain. Let's listen to what he says.
When did you personally find Bitcoin? I know that you're a huge proponent of it. And as you just said, you're not coming to this to capitalize on Bitcoin being a hot topic at the moment. You are an actual believer. When did that start for you?
2017.
Okay.
Started reading about it, trying to understand it. People always started with, you should learn blockchain. Remember the whole blockchain this and blockchain that?
Yep.
And so I started looking at and trying to understand blockchain technology and how that would impact financial services and things like that. But then, of course, then I started saying, is it really blockchain I should be thinking about, or should I be thinking about Bitcoin?
Yeah.
And then the attributes of Bitcoin, the fundamental attributes, 21 million. There aren't going to be any more.
Yeah.
There's no one messing with the software. There's no one you can fix it or change it. It's just a rare entity. And so that rarity is what creates its value. And so I played with it a little bit, bought a little bit, then bought a little bit more. And then I started really learning about the whole ecosystem. And then my firm I brought my firm into the market, try to be an advisor, analysts, cover it, talk about it. So I think it was just until 2020, and then 2020, we went all in with it in every way.
When did you?
And this is how a lot of people start, guys. I mean, this is one of the largest hedge fund managers in the US, and he's telling you that he kind of started learning about it, started dabbling in it, and before you knew it, he was going all in within 3 years. And that's really the conversation for a lot of people, guys. When I first learning about crypto, I was putting very, very little money in. And then as I lost money, I was like, wait, should I keep putting money in? And that's where I started this channel back in 2018. I mean, guys, we've been here almost 1 decade in the crypto space, at least on this channel, right? We started this channel in 2018. It's now 2025. We got 2.5 years left, and we're at a full decade on this channel talking about crypto. And this is, I have never, listen, we have definitely experienced, ups and downs in the market, and I definitely think that there have been people who exited the markets. I mean, even people that I know that entered the market in the bull run, in the bear run, they're like, I'm done. I'm not getting involved in crypto. And it's like, that is not the way to look at things, right? When you fail at something, you need to look at why I failed, or when I didn't do well at something, I need to look at why I didn't do well. There's a lot of people that they just quit. I don't know whether it's the TikTok generation, like the short attention span, but I've seen this happening over and over, right? People that I know, people that I don't know, that will try something, whether it's, investing in crypto, or they try out a new hobby or whatever, or just anything. And they don't do well the first time, and they're just like, you know what, I can't do this. It's like the same thing. People, they want to lose weight. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. I started working out, and I was working out very consistently for an extended period of time, and I didn't lose any weight, and I was starting to get a little bit annoyed. But most people would quit at that point. They'd be like, wait, I'm working out, I'm not losing any weight, but I kept going, and then I realized, wait, I'm actually gaining muscle and losing weight, but the scale is the same because muscle weighs more than fat, right? So the more muscle I was gaining, the less I was seeing it on the scale. And so looking at it that way, if I would have never thought of it a different way, I would have stopped working out, and I would have stopped the progress. And it's the same thing here. It's the same thing with anything that you do. And so there are a lot of people that they lose a little bit of money in the market and then they're done, even if you're not in a bull market. But again, most people enter the market at the top. I've talked to many different people about this. Somebody spoke to me at the top of the market about buying crypto. And I said to them, well, why are you buying now when Bitcoin is at $100,000 and not when Bitcoin was $20,000? And they really didn't have a response. It was just like, oh, well, right now I'm just kind of looking at it. And I'm like, okay, but do you think that this is the right time to look at it at all-time record highs? But this happens every single cycle, every cycle. And so my kind of message on this channel is why I started the channel. I started this channel so that I can learn about investing, so that I can learn the market cycles. I can learn how the ebbs and flows go. And now when we come down 40, 50, 60% in some assets, although I'm a little bit annoyed that I was invested for that long in an asset that came down 50, 60, 70%, there's a lot of the other assets that they will go higher. And I don't necessarily, I'm not affected by the downturn in the price because, again, almost 10 years on this channel exploring the world of finance. And one of the things that we learn in finance is markets are going to be volatile. You want the volatility, right? Not necessarily to the downside, but if you have volatility to the downside, you typically will also have volatility to the upside. And there's also a lot of other things that are going on in crypto, right? We just talked the other day about Coinbase launching the Coinbase Bitcoin Yield Fund, which is going to be for institutional investors right now. Coinbase Asset Management is launching a Coinbase Bitcoin Yield Fund, which is a long Bitcoin fund that seeks 4 to 8% net returns in Bitcoin. Now, again, this is another top signal in my view, because we have not seen pretty much any borrowing, any lending, and no yield over the last few years. Now, granted, some of that is because the SEC has been suppressing the ecosystem, and they have rejected any calls for these kind of yield products or leverage products. But once you start adding leverage or yield in, you have to ask the question, where is the yield coming from? A lot of people didn't ask this during the previous cycle, and they got wrecked because they were getting 10, 12, 15% interest on their crypto, but their coins were being basically just borrowed and lent from all of the companies that were doing borrowing and lending, and then they all went bankrupt. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen with Coinbase, but we're starting to see more incentive, right, to enter the market. Because institutions are going to say, wait, I can get 4 to 8% holding Bitcoin, which also appreciates, or I can get 4 to 8% in the stock market, and the stock market is not necessarily going to appreciate over time, especially with, if it's based on one company. So there is definitely more push towards this whole crypto world, and we're seeing the banks capitulating already. SoFi CEO says that the fintech bank is bringing back crypto investing. He said that they're going to be bringing back crypto investing after a fundamental shift in the regulatory landscape under the Trump administration. They were forced to drop crypto investing in late 2023 as part of becoming a regulated bank, right? Because the Federal Reserve won't let the banks interact with crypto. I mean, it is fascinating to me how suppressed, we have been. Because, guys, this holds everybody back. Forget about the financial part, right? I'm talking about the building part. These companies that could have been building, right? Ripple spent hundreds of millions of dollars fighting the SEC. Coinbase, hundreds of millions of dollars fighting the SEC. And all that money could have been put toward development, and we could be in a different place than we are today from a financial aspect. But there's a lot of people, they don't want anything to change. No. We need Gary Gensler back. We need the bank regulators to keep us safe. It's like, wait, they never kept you safe. Go to your bank and ask them if they have your money in the bank that day. They may, but if 50% of the branch customers go in and request their money, the bank will shut down. They don't have the money. They do not have the money. And if 50% of, let's say, JP Morgan customers went to JP Morgan Chase Bank and wanted to withdraw their money, maybe they would have it within a week, right? But it would be printed from the Federal Reserve because the banks don't have your money. They're lending it out. That's all they're doing. They're just a middleman that doesn't need to be there. And this is where crypto removes the middleman, right? And for the last 5 years or so, I think that the banks have been researching, how do we become the middleman in crypto? There is no middleman in crypto. The only way to make money in crypto is to be a node operator or be on the on-ramp or the off-ramp, which right now Coinbase is in control of, right? And the banks see that. Remember, JP Morgan, they bank Coinbase and Gemini. They were the first bank to basically bank crypto exchanges while they were saying you should not own crypto. Crypto's bad. Crypto's bad. They were banking Coinbase and Gemini. Why do you think they were doing that? I mean, personally, I think it was because they wanted to see the data. They wanted to see all the money flowing in and flowing out because they're the middleman, right? Coinbase is not a bank yet. So for Coinbase to interact with your bank, Coinbase needs to go through their bank to interact with your bank. And who's their bank? JP Morgan. So think about this. Even if you never touched a JP Morgan account, never interacted with JP Morgan as a bank, They have all your information. Oh, by the way, and you withdraw Coinbase funds to, let's say, you know, I don't know, Wells Fargo or TD Ameritrade or Bank of America or whatever other bank, right? JP Morgan now has all your information. They know your account balances. They know that you are interacting with Coinbase, and they're seeing the flows of money. That's the most important thing, right? The flows. And Coinbase, JP Morgan, they know how much money is going into Coinbase and Gemini, how much money is coming out. And so they can effectively front run the markets as well, which they may be doing because the banks have trading desks. So they could, people say, well, how come the price of Bitcoin is not moving higher when we have MicroStrategy buying, Marathon Digital buying, all these different companies buying? Well, we also have the ETFs selling. Who owns most of the ETFs? Probably the banks. Probably the banks. Anyway, we also heard from PayPal that the SEC closed their enforcement action in the latest dropped crypto case. Right, again, think about PayPal. How much larger could their crypto business be today if they didn't have to fight the SEC? Because what the SEC was doing was any company that started crypto-related products, they just went and sued them. And so that stifles the innovation. It pushes it back, right? And there's a lot of people who want the US to be the best country in the world, the greatest country in terms of money, in terms of business, in terms of everything, but they don't want progression of the technology. And it's like, well, if the US is not progressing here, other countries are going to progress way faster. And so now a lot of Americans are coming to the conclusion, like when they see videos or pictures of in China of these very advanced, like, I don't even know what to call it, communities that are built, like these huge buildings. You're starting to see them pop up in the US. They're kind of like Las Vegas style properties, very large. They have everything inside. This is happening in Dubai. I mean, if you go to Dubai, you will see this, where they're building these like mega structures with everything that you can imagine inside. They're doing this in China, Singapore. And the US, you know, is building homes with, you know, wood structures and very poor foundations and being built very poorly. I mean, you guys have seen the TikToks and the YouTubes of these home inspectors inspecting the homes, and they're like very basic, right? That they're selling these homes that are like falling apart. And it's like, that home is worth what? Meanwhile, they're building these like mega massive structures. I mean, think about in, I think Saudi Arabia or somewhere in that area, that region, they're building what's called the line. It's in the middle of the desert, and they're just building a structure that's going to house like millions of people, and it's going to be all encompassing, right? It's going to have everything within it. It's fascinating to see, and a lot of people are, oh, that's never going to work out. It's like they're building it right now. They're creating a new ecosystem. I mean, just look at Dubai over the last 20 years. It went from nothing to one of the richest places and most prestigious places in the world, right? And that we could have in the US, but we have to stop stifling that innovation, stop pushing these companies to not want to innovate or not be able to innovate because they have to pay all this money, right? We have to encourage that. I know there's concerns whenever, you know, you're just letting these industries run, but like we need to have something here, right? Because this is where the president and Lutnick are also talking about bringing manufacturing to the US. Now, whether this is going to benefit Americans or not, I don't know, but we have to produce things, right? We have to create things. And to create things, they need the regulatory kind of guidance and support there. And we weren't getting that specifically in crypto. We also are now hearing that Trump's Truth Social is mulling launching a token for subscriptions in their latest crypto push. So Trump's Truth Social plans to forge ahead with its ETFs, and it will include cryptocurrencies. And so, I mean, the president already has his own meme coin. The first lady has her own meme coin. They're talking about creating cryptos. They have their own crypto firm. Guys, this is not going anywhere, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. You want to get rich? You start learning about it. You want to stay poor and just complain? Do that. But, I mean, this is about your future. This is about your retirement. And there's a lot of people who just, they don't care. They don't want it. And it's pretty unbelievable. In that case, I would say go watch Jim Cramer because he'll tell you what to buy at the top of the market. Anyway, today's video was really about kind of laying out the groundwork for where we are in the markets and where we are going. it is very clear to me that this administration is pro-crypto. It is very clear that they're setting the foundation now for the future of crypto. And we're almost at the point where any politicians who are anti-crypto are not going to get elected. We're almost there. I don't think that we're fully there yet. We're very close, and more politicians are coming around. It's really going to be interesting to see most definitely what's going to be happening with the with the digital asset legislation. Is it just going to be on stable coins, or is it going to include other cryptos as well? If that happens this year in 2025, just be ready, guys, because that is going to be the indicator that the market is going to go much, much higher, probably very, very quickly. And I don't know that the market has priced all of this in just yet, but I think the market is being very cautious. What is just conversation versus what is actually going to happen? Because we don't know that they're going to pass legislation this year. We hope that they are, but they've been saying this for years. And so we have to have some concern there, and some possibly they're not going to do it. That way we can hedge our bets and understand where the market is going to go. But for today's video, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, check out my other videos on this channel. We got a ton of content and a lot of information to help you guide your understanding of these markets so that you can make the best financial decisions for your portfolios. I'll see you guys in the next video. Crypto on.